Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to my new channel, YouTube channel. I hate rock music, and it's all about obscure bands from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, up to now. Just any interesting bands that I think are worth talking about. And this is a new intro I'm recording because the whole modus operandi of my channel and the videos has kind of changed a little bit. So I wanted to do a new intro, and this is it. So as the last intro said, um, I kind of started doing this because I had some great conversations with Seattle producer Jack Endino, a friend of mine. We were talking all about the bands that we hate and love, and it spurred me to uh, do a channel like this where I just kind of talk about the bands I think are interesting and that it might have been overlooked. A lot of people watching these videos are familiar with the bands and just probably like to hear somebody talk about them, but um, I'm going to go into the histories of the band a little bit. I'm going to talk about what I think is great about these bands, and I'm a big fan, and it's all about being a big fan. So I'm just having a fireside chat with other people who love rock music, who love rare records, who are vinyl junkies, and just kind of a one-on-one. And hopefully you'll take away a little bit of information you might not have known. I know I learned some interesting things. I hardly knew anything about the band Highway Robbery, and it was great to do some research and find out more than I ever knew about the band. So this is really fun for me as well. And in the last intro, I talked about the fact that why do I have the qualifications to do these videos? And I mentioned a bunch of things. Like I was really involved in the Seattle rock scene the early punk scene in the mid to late 70s, and saw all the great early Seattle bands like the Telepaths and the Mentors. And then I went through the whole punk era as well. I helped put out the Fastbacks 12-inch and the Moberly's record. I managed Seattle punk legends, The Living. And then all through the 80s and 90s, I had a series of bands of my own. Played a whole wide range of music: prog rock, punk blues, hard rock, proto grunge, improv, noise, jazz. I did it all because I'm really interested in a whole wide range of different kinds of music, and so that'll have a lot to do with what I choose to post videos on this channel. But I wanted to point out, more importantly, which I didn't in my last intro, is that my trajectory over my life. In the mid '60s, I kind of grew up listening to transistor radio, and I heard the Beatles, and I heard the Yardbirds, and all that kind of stuff, and I really liked it. I had fun with that, and then my whole life changed for some reason in 1968 when the Hey Jude single came out by the Beatles. And I'd heard the Beatles before, but this single hit me like no other, including the B-side, the electric version of Revolution. It was just so much more sophisticated than anything I'd heard before, and Paul McCartney's voice just sounded so incredible. And so my whole life changed. I sold my comic books, I sold my monster magazines, and I started buying records. And Christmas of '68, I got the Beatles' White Album, and that was it. Changed my whole life. I was stunned that one band could do all the music on that record, and I used to just carry it with me around wherever I went with my little portable record player, so I couldn't be without the Beatles' White Album. And at the same time, I discovered Steppenwolf. Born to Be Wild blew me away like it did so many other people, but for me, it set a tone because I liked really hard rock right from the beginning. I really liked those power riffs, so Steppenwolf was one of my early loves. I bought all their singles when they came out. And so I amassed, 50, 60 singles, and then started slowly buying albums. The first two were the Beatles' White Album and the first Steppenwolf album. I remember sitting at the bus stop with a bunch of older kids. I was probably about 11 or 12 then, and these 16-year-olds saw that I bought the first Steppenwolf album, and they said, "Oh my God, be careful when you get that home. Don't let your mother hear it because there's one song where he says 'God damn' over and over again." So I love the danger of rock then, and I just dove in head first. And so I started moving into albums, and and still buying singles, but Cream and Iron Butterfly and Blue Cheer and all those bands of the era, I just lapped it up. And so I started at age 11 in 1968, and by 1970, I probably already had one or 200 albums, and had bought a lot of the big records of that era, Canned Heat, Led Zeppelin, and Cream. I bought my first Hendrix album. I actually started with Band of Gypsies and worked my way back, but then I found the joys of cutout bins. And so I found out about records that would never be made again, or so they said. And you go to the stores and there'd be three for $1 or 44 cents, or the good ones would be $1.99. And I just started buying records because the covers look cool. And so I'm really lucky. By the time I was 13, just on the strength of the covers and never hearing them before, I found out about High Tide and Pato and Big Star and Jade Warrior and Gentle Giant and all that kind of crazy stuff. So I feel really lucky to have discovered all those bands pretty early on and for pennies on the dollar. And I ended up buying all the cutouts I could find. And so I discovered all the obscure bands that are so collectible these days. And just loved it. I loved the discovery. I kind of just avoided kind of 60s bands like the Poppers and Racket Squad and things like that. I looked for the really damaged looking bands, the three long hairs. I knew if it was three guys, it was going to be loud. I loved the cover art of the 70s records. So it really made it fun for me to go out and find all these bands, like I mentioned, Skid Row and High Tide and Big Star and so many others through cutout bands. So by the time 1971, 72 rolled around, my collection grew to 300 or 400 records. And I was one of those people that bought a lot of those records because I was hearing them on the radio. So I heard Peter Kalkanin's Black Kangaroo on the radio. I heard Bang on the radio. I heard Budgie on the radio. I heard Sir Lord Baltimore on the radio. And I had a little notebook and I would write down all the songs that I heard by these bands. And as soon as I heard like two or three that I really liked, I'd go out and buy the albums. And so by 72, 73, I was at the right age, totally into Alice Cooper, totally into Humble Pie. I got to see a lot of the great bands of that era: Deep Purple, Alice Cooper, Blue Oyster Cult, Grand Funk, um, so many great bands of that era. And I wasn't living in a city then, so I couldn't really see as many bands as I wanted to. The first live band I saw was the Osmond Brothers at the Puyallup Fair, and then I saw the Springfield Rifle playing at a picnic at Green Lake back about '67. And then my best friend's brother took me to see Blue Cheer on my birthday at Eagles Auditorium in Seattle in 1968, and that totally blew my mind. I never experienced anything so loud and crazy in my life and seen so many hippies. And I was a mere 11 years old at the time, already a big fan of the single Summertime Blues, and that really changed everything. And then, like I say, I moved out to Seattle, um, got involved in the music scene, and bought as many records as I could get my hands on, and it was great, and it's been my life. And so it's really great now to see a lot of the bands that I loved when I was growing up that were my little secret that nobody had ever heard. Now all the collectors out there know about all these bands, and so it should be fun. I've got a lot of anecdotes about where I bought these records, whether I heard them on the radio, other little anecdotes. So to post videos for people that weren't there to get a little glimpse of what it was like growing up in the golden era of being a vinyl junkie could be fun. And then, excuse me for the shortcomings. I'm getting old now. I screw up name pronunciations. I screw up band members' names. I leave out important facts. And I just don't take the time. I could have made these a lot more deluxe and put album graphics in the video and played samples of the musics in the video. And I'm just having more fun being a guy in a bunker, posting these videos from one fan to another. And like I say, I hope you enjoy some of it. As always, I hope I turn you on to a band you haven't heard. I'm putting links below now, since I can't post them in the video or won't. I'm posting links underneath all the videos so you can hear the records I'm talking about, the bands I'm talking about, and when applicable, I will be posting, the rarities that I'm aware of, including Beat Club appearances and live stuff. So if you watch one of my videos and it sounds interesting, go down the link, listen to the main records I'm talking about, and then dive into some rarities you may or may not have seen. But as I say, anybody that's watching my videos probably knows about all these bands, and I hope you have a good time too, seeing another diehard fan of the bands you love. So anyway, that's my new intro to this channel. Changed my mission a little bit, and my name's Brian Fox, and thank you so much for watching I Hate Rock Music. I hope you enjoy it.